Hey dog people, if you're a professional dog trainer or dog business owner, you're probably exhausted. Because if you're anything like me, you're doing all the things to keep your business running. And one of the biggest strains is wondering where your clients are going to come from this week, or next month. Now, don't get me wrong, I love what social media does for my business. But when my business 100% depends on such an active strategy, I burn out fast. I want to help you create sustainability in your business and maybe even have time to get back to the life part of work-life balance. In my free marketing masterclass for dog business owners, I'm lifting up the hood and showing you the exact lead generation system I use in my business. Grab a notebook, trust me, and head on over to www.freedbytraining.com/unleash or click the link in the show notes and I'll teach you how to implement organic marketing strategy in your dog business. Welcome to Dog Training Bytes, the show where canine professionals share their key takeaways, big aha moments, and hardest lessons learned from working with dogs. I'm Mattison, certified dog trainer and behavior consultant, and dogs are my life. Every day I get to coach guardians and other trainers into a deeper understanding of canine behavior. But let's face it, sometimes dog training really bites. And that's okay, because when it does, we learn a lot. This podcast is all about sharing the lessons learned from experience, because the stories of when it got tough or when we made a mistake, that's when we learn the lessons worth learning. And it's time we share those with the world. I'll be talking to dog trainers and other pet professionals about times that working with dogs, well, bit. Not literally. Maybe literally. What's most important here on this show, what did they walk away with? What did they learn? How did it shape their approach today? Welcome to Dog Training Bytes, the show where pet professionals share personal lessons that you won't find in any textbook. I am very excited today to introduce someone who is working hard to bridge the gap between humans and dogs, Matt Beisner. Matt is a world-renowned certified professional dog trainer who specializes in common, confusing, reactive, and aggressive behaviors. And you may have seen him on his show, Dog Impossible on Disney+. Matt's humane approach is guided by evidence-based positive reinforcement. His programs create a safe space for anyone who wants to understand their dog's behavior and is looking for a healthy opportunity for change. Hi, Matt. Welcome. I am so excited to have you here.
Hi, Mattison. I'm excited. I don't know who's more excited. And also for the audience, Mattison reached out to me a while ago, and as is my admin deficiency slash, the reality of communicating through social media, I don't know how I didn't connect with you before. So thanks for following up. Thanks for being dogged about it.
Of course, of course. I know you have lots of stories and this is something that people need to learn this stuff. These are the lessons that we learn the hard way and we want to keep other people from having to maybe make the same mistakes or being able to find something worth sharing. And so what I really want to start with is my first question for you, Matt. I want to ask you about the dogs in your life, right? The once impossible dogs.
Well, I have two with me now. I will for the listeners, I cry easily, so don't be surprised if that happens because I think it might happen in about five, four, three. So you just quickly for people, I got bit when I was a kid, grew up afraid of dogs, got into adulthood. Well, technically I was an adult, not emotionally, I was not an adult. And then in the process of unbeknownst to me recognizing a pretty serious alcohol drinking and addiction issue, I got help. And in my first couple of months of detoxing and recovery, I lived with somebody who had a terrier who would have been identified as aggressive. I'm not going to talk about the mighty Kingston today, rest his soul. But that was the beginning of the trajectory. So what that led to with Kingston's presence in my life, where he needed help, and I actually was getting out of the house to help him. So he was my way of getting back into the world,
Mm,
which is fundamental to how I operate. That the what's good for the dog is going to be good for the world, and my doing what's good for a dog is going to change me for the better. And as I continue to expand my desire and ability to support humans, what's going to be good for the human is also going to be good for the dog. So there's an irrefutable interplay, aspect of the bond between the two. So what was going to move me to tears is we had up until 2 years ago, my wife Brooklyn, who created the Zen Dog with me and nurtured it through 22 crates in our home and, all of that, and then a facility and then a TV show and then a move to Austin, Texas. We ended up with 8 dogs with us, 3 fosters that had been staying at the facility. We're now down to two dogs total. 4 of the dogs, let's see, 2 of the dogs were rehomed and or landed in forever homes, and then 4 have passed. So we're down to 2. So we've lost 4 in the last 3 years. And as anybody knows who goes through it, wouldn't trade it and wouldn't trade how much I care, and which is, equivalent to I guess, the depth of the pain with it. And so there are 2 with me left. One, the venerable Nama. And if anybody watches Dog Impossible, Nama is the coffee colored pit bull who loves everybody and is just, one of those genius dogs that you're fortunate to meet that lets you call her yours. But the one I want to speak to specifically is my blue nose pity mix, who's right behind me, Deja Blue. And that's why we named her that, because she's a blue nose and we're kind of geeky like that. And what's happening for me with Deja is quite astounding. So my trajectory as a trainer, I've talked about that a lot. I guess I'm 15 years into the work, and I've gone through all kinds of methods and approaches and lack of information and misinformation and like fact grabbing and then building a case, an entire approach around that. And at this point, I'm grateful to have had the kind of support where I can learn and see things differently and am better equipped to meet a dog where they're at. And I'm very much dog consent driven. Wellness is a foundation, things that are just invaluable for the dog's experience. So with the dogs that we had with us, living with us over the years, and the dogs that we were legally and emotionally and spiritually responsible for, there were very serious bite histories, bite level 5, bite level 6. And Deja Blue, who came into our home at about 10 weeks old as a rescue from the desert, Palm Springs area, blue nose, blue lacy mix. For those who don't know, blue lacy is the state dog of Texas. It's a ranching dog. So she's this beautiful 38-pound streamlined blue gray dog. And I didn't recognize how deeply sensitive she is.
Mm.
She's about 10 years old. Again, she came to us at about 10 weeks old. I didn't recognize it. And I honestly didn't recognize it until like 2 years ago, which I'm embarrassed and maybe a little bit ashamed to acknowledge, but I want to share this stuff out loud because if it's useful to anybody, then it's useful at all. And one of the things that I didn't, that was a prohibitor for me in recognizing how not just emotionally sensitive, but how acutely sensitive she is in terms of her senses. She is what some people in the field are beginning to identify as highly sensitive dogs. And there doesn't seem to be a breed specific predictor to a highly sensitive dog, but it does seem, and this is anecdotal with what people who are actually exploring this are sharing with me or evidentiary, what does seem to be consistent for highly sensitive dogs is that they are acutely aware of changes in the environment, sound, sight, movement, and light.
Yeah.
And that they are highly intelligent. And that could be the case for a number of dogs. And as we become more sensitive to their needs, it may just be that they're sensitive and we're waking up to that. So
they're very vigilant almost to their
vigilant.
environment and
Yeah.
predictive sometimes too.
Yeah. Yeah. Routine is particularly key, and potentially everything in the human day-to-day experience has an impact. And
Yeah.
so
Nothing is insignificant to them.
No.
Nothing is insignificant.
No, yeah, that's right. And part of so in spending years managing a household, whether the dogs were staying with us, and we had upwards of 22 dogs. I'm not recommending my lifestyle for anybody. I'm just saying it is what it is. In the management of the business and in the management of the behavioral risks of the other dogs, and because Deja Blue fit in so quickly and presented little to no threat whatsoever, I gave her almost none of the attention that she needed.
Hmm.
And when my beloved Jindo passed, we just passed 2 years ago now, something extraordinary happened that I could not have anticipated. And within 3 weeks of his passing, Deja Blue, who would reasonably be considered fearful, timid, skittish, anxious, those kinds of things, she started to blossom. It was so bizarre to me to see her be more curious, just she now comes upstairs of her own volition. To see her, I'm going to loosely call it self-regulate. Like she gets spooked by something, she's going to come up the stairs, which she was always seemed to be too afraid to do, and she's going to lay down with us, and then she's okay.
Huh.
The level of her communication and the freedom with which she seems to feel able to communicate with us is mind blowing.
Hmm.
And I realized that although her and my Jindo, by and large, with the exception of maybe a couple of incidents over 10 years, over I guess over 8 years, I would always have said they get along. But the reality is that he passed and her behavior changed. She
Mhm.
opened up, which suggests to me pretty clearly that his very presence was pressuring to her. And after he passed, a year after he passed, just in the last, I guess, 5 months, our German Shepherd passed.
Mm.
And when she passed, Deja Blue, and she and Deja cohabitated, but Deja Blue expanded again. So I'm seeing a dog that I've been living with for 10 years demonstrate behavior that either wasn't there or I certainly didn't see. And the underlying needs that drive that behavior that have been unmet.
The social pressure that you didn't realize was affecting her.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Hmm.
it's relative. And, a lot of the things that I see, particularly working in aggression cases and working with people at large and talking with other dog pros, too easily the we find ourselves, speak for myself, too easily I find myself normalizing high risk, high stress situations.
Mm.
And to go from 8 dogs to two has also been enlightening, because it's not just like things got 6 times easier in my home, things got 36 times easier in my home.
Hmm.
I didn't realize how much pressure it was on my family and I to manage little
Hmm.
things like gates, two barriers. We haven't had a fight in a long time, but all of that stuff takes a bandwidth and energy.
Yeah.
So Deja is this remarkable dog that I am actually building a relationship with at this level for the first time. And back in the day where I thought a dog had to walk, she just rolled over on her side and exhaled like, thank you. And I've been waiting for you to figure that out.
Oh.
And so we took a walk the other night, long leash walk the other night, like a midnight safari. And she was just so delighted, just pop, prance, 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 prance. She's like, always walks like she's got high heels on. And she was so delighted and like big smiles and so curious. And it was the longest, easiest walk we've ever had. And what's
Hmm.
key about that is when I first met her and in my less than informed state, I thought I had to dominate her and she had to be near me and all of this kind of, self-fulfilling justified training model. And that I failed that at that miserably with her, and then kind of left it alone for years because of other things to deal with. And we had a facility and she had a lot of social opportunities. So to take a walk with her where we've done little to no walking work for 7 years, and I have changed how I listen to her,
Hmm.
and she is walking the way that she is. I mean, I can't, I could go on and on, but I want to stop there. And actually, the last thing I want to say is that her willingness to let me touch her, massage her, all of that is in evolution right now. And
Yeah.
there's so much nuance and sensitivity that she asks of me that is deepening my understanding every day. And so I want to give Deja Blue a big, I just want to lift her up because this has always been available. I just haven't been open to it. And thank you, whatever the great power is, thank you that I get a chance to have this relationship with her now before she too passes.
Well, it sounds like you are just at a point in your life where there is more space for one dog to kind of step up and have that individualized attention where that's not always the case, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like this is a beautiful time for the two of you to get to know each other all over again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. She's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Okay, Matt, did you bring a story? Is it story time?
Yeah. Yeah. It is story time. So this one is, it's related to the passing I've talked about. And so,
I'm so sorry for all the loss that you
oh,
experienced in
yeah.
a relatively short period of time. I'm really
Yeah.
deeply sorry for that.
Yeah, thank you. I feel that from you. There's a wonderful group of veterinarians that the oh gosh, I'm going to flub it up, but they have Dr. Lisa Lippman is one of them. Senior Dog Doc, that's her tag. Dr. Laura Tarantino, she's another, and there's a third. I'm sorry, Posse, I forget. But I've been talking with Dr. Lisa Lippman for a while, Lippman, and she had talked to me about anticipatory grief, and I didn't know anything about that. And when I attended when our Husky Wolf Pierre passed, I started to attend their groups, and that was another life changing experience. And when they mentioned anticipatory grief, as the following dogs were getting ready to pass, I was available to that experience. And for those who don't know anticipatory grief, it is what it sounds like. It's the grieving of a pending loss, and it could be anything from a pet to a move to something before surgery to a job change. And
Yeah.
it is a natural and normal and healthy way for the individual being to process the experience, as opposed to my way, or the way that's commonly recommended. The way my way was is just, they're still here. Why aren't you focusing on them being here? But the reality
Right.
is it's all part of it. So our German Shepherd Hess, Mama Hess, who passed a few months ago with cancer that came quick, because of the support I've gotten, and from the beginning with this group, this team, this grief group that I'm mentioning, and what I know now with the training support, I was able to spend that last day. We had a fantastic holistic vet, Dr. Lori, here in the Austin area, who does house call work. And I was able to have that last day with Mama Hess, that where I wouldn't change a single thing. And this was not about like going to a fast food place and her eating burgers. This was, Mama Hess, I know you're in pain, and I'm telling you what's going to happen today. And I know that you can't really walk very well, but we're just going to do what we like to do, which is walk and sniff around. And I'm going to keep telling you how much I love you. And then what we're going to do, Mama Hess, when we come back from the walk, I'm going to have lots of good stuff for you to eat. And we're going to lay out a space here in our backyard on the porch in our backyard. We're very fortunate that it's up against a beautiful green belt. I'm looking out the window right now, and there's lots of open sky. And Mama Hess, I'm just going to be with you the whole time as much as I can. And that was, without any disrespect to where I've been at in my process over the years, just in being with animals, that was the most present I had ever felt with another dog, particularly in something that was that emotionally challenging.
Yeah.
And the doctor came in and she did her thing, and I just sang to Mama Hess, and just, you know, just what an exceptional, like unbelievable opportunity. And I remember thinking, only stepping outside of myself, I am so fortunate that I'm at a place in my life where I can be this present when something hurts this much,
Yeah.
and not have to do anything with it other than just keep being present. And so I was singing to her. I was singing to her, and a lot of it was with my eyes closed. And I begin to see my other dogs that had passed. I begin to
Oh,
see the specter of them arrive
yeah.
around us. And and as one might, I asked them to take her home, just please help her.
Yeah.
And that was something that, however one looks at this kind of experience, that was something that brought me a lot of peace, because I trust the animals that have been with me. I trust my Jindo. I trust the ones that I've had the privilege of living with. I trust them when they show up and say, I'm going to help you with this. And that includes being in the middle of a session, whether I would share that with anybody or not, and the intuitive way in which it seems that I'm able to hear them. So Mama has passed, and I wouldn't change a thing. And I did ask selfishly, just for something to let me know, to let our family and I know that she was okay. So, as I had asked before she passed, so as she's in the process of passing, a cardinal posts up on our fence. Now, we've been living here 3 years. Not in the first 2 years and 8 months before she passed have we seen a red cardinal in our yard. So
Wow.
a red cardinal posts up on the fence, and I take note of it. She passes. And the next morning, outside our kitchen window are two cardinals sitting right there on the window, right on the windowsill, which has never happened. And later that day, there are three cardinals down at the fence. And we have continued to see almost every day at least one cardinal show up in the yard, particularly when our remaining two dogs are out there.
Wow.
Yeah. And my wife Brooke likes to think too that one of the cardinals is her dad who just wants to show up too, and not for me to say that that's not there. And then I have found myself in environments. I was working with a really intense situation, intense case in Florida, and I'm working in somebody's backyard with this dog, and a cardinal appears. And I asked the local people, "Do you usually have cardinals around here?" No, I never seen a cardinal in this yard. And
Wow.
I'm dropping my daughter off at school recently, and I drop her off, and as I'm dropping her off, there's a cardinal flying in with us. And I asked her, "Do you normally see cardinals around here?" No, we don't. As I'm leaving, dropping her off from school, the cardinal's flying. So that's my story, and I don't know if I'm sticking to it, but I'm living with it. You know, just the kind of things that make me grateful that I'm willing to be available to things beyond what I could possibly understand.
Yeah. Your ability to be present and appreciate something for what it is, not because of what came before or what comes after, but just for what it is in that moment. I mean, that's something that's hard. It's hard to be living in the present like that.
Yeah, it's been a lot of practice, and
Yeah.
I have become that person that talks to trees and leaves and butterflies and hummingbirds, and and my kids are growing up that way, which is amazing. And it's really an interesting shift to watch. I mean, and I'm sincere about it. I'm not sure how I'm viewed, but I care a lot less about that. But like that's oh, if I want to actually have a relationship with everything around me, I want to be in relationship with everything around me.
Yeah.
And this might be a huge leap, and depending on who's listening, thank you, and I'm sorry, but it occurred to me recently, after a lot of years of a lot of struggle, that it's possible for me to die in peace. I didn't know that that was an option. I didn't know that that was possible. Everybody, I'm not sick. I don't have a death wish, but I'm just saying, like, that's in the last several months, based on a lot of the growth that I've been given and experienced, I can actually I love to work my training plans backwards. I can actually live as if I am going to die in peace. And that's not how I lived before. I was just trying to be able to pass at my final days feeling less shitty about myself. But I'm operating now from, oh, I can actually go out at peace with myself and the world. So what does that look like now, and how do I do it?
Yeah. Well, and I think staying present, that's a huge part of it, right? And that's something that translates to our lives. That's something that translates to our training. That's something that we can give and hopefully translate over to our clients and help them understand how important it is. A lot of the folks that I work with and you work with, they're really struggling with their dogs.
Yeah,
And it can be hard on a not so good day,
yeah,
but to remind them, you get to put this day behind you and wake up each day and try again. Each
yeah,
day is a new day. Each day you and your dog have an opportunity to do it all over again,
yeah.
and it's just never too late. It's never too late to work towards that peace.
Yeah, that is
Totally
right.
agree.
Yeah,
Whew. I know it's a heavy one, but it's a good one. It's kind of the ultimate lesson, right?
yeah,
Just really being able to look at what's in front of you and work through that moment. And I do think that, especially like I said, in these behavior cases, we can get bogged down looking too far into the past, thinking too far into the future.
yeah,
I'm a training plan girl too, so I love to put together a plan and follow a
yeah,
plan. But sometimes when you're kind of too caught up in that, it's important to just be in the moment. And it sounds
yeah.
it sounds like Mama Hess is reminding you of that on the regular.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. And I think to your point about the training, because I like having answers. I like solving, a lot of that's self-reinforcing, even to the point where I will create. I have learned about myself. I do this a lot less so, but I will create problems so I can solve them. And that includes, like not setting a dog up to succeed. I think I do. I feel more capable than ever, and I probably do less actual training than ever because my ability to meet the dog has just changed so much.
I feel the same way. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. There's a lot less training and a lot more listening.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Same.
Well,
Yeah,
Matt,
yeah.
is there anything else that you want the dog people out there to know about you and what you do?
Mm. A great question.
I know you're
It's
doing
in,
lots.
it's interesting because I am grateful to have the opportunity to be a public person and to have the kind of support that actually uh, allows me to do something good with it, something useful. I think I, I think the thing I want to share is actually I'm shy. I'm a shy person, and I am fortunate and blessed to be able to have a lot of opportunities that put me out in the world that require a lot of output.
Hmm.
But it's just been a more recent thing where I kind of squared with that, coming to terms with who I happen to be a public figure who is shy. I happen to be somebody who's capable in a public space and in conversation who's shy. And it's just a kind of an interesting development of self awareness and a self acceptance.
Yeah, a lot of us are actually deeply introverted, and
Mm,
it makes it hard, I think, to show up with so much social energy with,
yeah,
the desire to educate and entertain and bring people together,
yeah.
but they don't see the recovery that it takes for us on the back end.
Yeah, that's right. Which is okay. I appreciate that. So I guess the chance to say that on a public scale might be a little relief. I think the other thing that's part of the bigger picture in that realization is when I'm thinking about sustainable, can I sustain? I'm looking at maybe what are the next 20 years of my life like? What can I do that can leave something that's worthwhile? And I need to continue to make adjustments to how I care for myself because if I don't, I won't have that. I won't be able to I won't be able to do what I'm called to do. And that is a necessary and challenging pivot with everything from how I sleep, how I eat, how I navigate the day, what I show up with. Do I clean up the messes I've made at night, literally and emotionally? And yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's what I want to share.
Well, you can find Matt on Instagram at Matt Beisner, Matt_Beisner, and his website, thezendog.com. Both will be linked in the show notes. Thanks for joining us in the world of dog training bites, where every challenge brings a lesson worth sinking our teeth into. See you next time. Dog Training Bites was created, produced, and edited by Mattison Simpson. You can connect with me on Instagram at Dog Training Bytes, that's BYTES, and at Freed by Training. For information on today's guest and resources for help with your dog or dog training education, visit www.dogtrainingbytes.stream. Looking for more? Listen to my other show, Unpacked, a clinical dog training podcast co-hosted by Sailor Jerry the dog trainer and produced by Straight Up Dog Talk, LLC.